Hey guys, Matt aka Trilient again, talking more about my Nova game engine. So in the last video, I talked about the particle system, and today I'm going to talk about the fluid sim system. And before I get sidetracked again, like I did in the last video, I'm just going to dive straight into the fluid sim editor so you can see what that looks like. Now, like I mentioned in the last video, it does not use the same graph view that the particle system does, but it does have a similar setup here. So if I hit play here, you can see fluid sim. So this is a 2D fluid sim. It just renders on a plane. So it's not super expensive. The whole idea, again, of the engine is being lightweight, so I'm not going to have like 3D fluid sims or anything like that. There is a water system, which I will cover later, but the water system is not like a fluid simulation, but it is stylized and lets you get stylized water effects right out of the box. But I'll cover that in a future video as I cover more features for the engine. For now, let's just talk about the fluid sim. So there are some dynamic properties here. Well, I say dynamic. There's really just like one dynamic property, which allows you to adjust the size of the fluid sim. So right here, I'm going to turn on this debug gizmo, and it shows you the shape of the fluid sim. And then you can distort your emitter a little bit. So we'll do like something like this, and then you can scroll your emitter to start having it change shape in real time. So I'll turn this source warp scroll up. You see I turned it up to 0.22, and now if you watch, the actual emission shape is changing size. Now if I turn off the gizmo, you can see that happening here in real time. It's not as noticeable, but it allows you to have some dynamic properties and dynamic shapes coming out of your fluid sim emission. So I'm going to turn that gizmo back on. I'm going to turn this back to 0. And I'm going to also disable the warping of the emission shape. That way we can see more um, interesting effects. So let's do like source swirl. Let's turn that up a little bit. And then let's also do buoyancy. Let's turn the buoyancy up a little bit. You can see it having a little bit of an effect on the fluid sim already. It's made the output of the emission narrower and faster. If I turn it down, you can see it's a little bit wider now. If I turn it all the way down, it's less buoyant. Turn it all the way up, more buoyant, thinner emission. Um, there's also like drift, so you can kind of have your emission coming out in different directions like that. Those are just forces on your fluid sim. Let's see, emission shape. Let's go to injection radius and let's bring this up. Let's bring this way, way up. Now you can kind of start to see like it's a very wide boy. Um, the fluid sim needs a little bit of work because you can see it's getting harshly cut off at the edge there at the bottom. So it's not like kind of a foolproof system yet, but it does do its job pretty well. It's bound by like GPU constraints and things like that, so I'm working out a way to make it a better system. I do have kind of like resolution settings and stuff for it, but it doesn't really seem to change a whole lot. Let's see if I change the resolution Y up. Yeah, see, it's even with the Y resolution, it doesn't really change. But what this does do is it like actually has an effect on. Oh, that actually looked pretty good on the actual size and resolution of like the particles of sorts that are being spawned out of the emitter. So I actually like it at 32, 32. Oh, actually, I'll bring this up to like maybe 64 here. Yeah, that looks a little bit more like fire or something now. So we can bring the emission speed down. Let's bring the simulation speed down. No, because that just changes how fast the simulation is happening. Let's see, where is my velocity dissipation? I think this slows down. No, it doesn't. One of these will. Let's see, vorticity strength. That just controls like how many of these like vortices you see on the side, but we can turn that way up, and now we get like some really like crazy noise happening in there. That's pretty cool looking. I'll leave it like that. Um, so this boundary mode set to open is supposed to remove the boundary here, but you can see it kind of doesn't. It just makes everything fizzle out, which is entirely not what I want to happen. So that's one of the fixes I was talking about as far as like trying to fix this boundary issue. Um, so like I said, it still needs some work, but it is pretty good for what it is. If I turn this emission up, make it a little bit brighter, easier to look at. I mean, it's a good looking fluid zone. It does look good, but there's certainly some constraints on it that need to be fixed. So let's see. If I reduce the buoyancy, there we go. Now it just kind of has some interesting like swirly patterns. I kind of liked it with a little bit of buoyancy, but what I want is to slow down the velocity. Oh, maybe it's velocity injection. I think that's what it is. No, that didn't seem to do anything. Okay. About density injection. That just makes it inject more particles, which is nice to look at, but that's not what I wanted either. I'll put that at 1.25. I don't remember what it was at the default. Okay. I was pretty sure. Maybe the forces are broken on it right now. Maybe I did something to it and never fixed it. Okay, well, that's probably the case. I'll have to investigate. Like I said, it's a very buggy engine that still needs a lot of work, and I'm a solo developer. Um, but I think there is some issues with the forces right now because, like, even adding like reversing direction, it's still going up. So I think velocity and possibly force direction are broken at the moment. So I'll just leave those be for now. I'll put it back at 1 because that was the default. Um, let's see, maybe if I turn drift down, we'll get a result here. Okay. I'm getting a little bit of a result there with drift. But see, now it's just kind of filling up that box that I was talking about, which is also not the result that I want. What I could do is bring the injection radius down. And it's going to make it a little bit smaller, but it's also going to remove that really cool effect that I had going on there. See, now it's going down. Oh, that's because the drift is negative. Okay. So let's make the drift like 0.04 or something. And I'll bring this injection radius back down. Okay. That's kind of a smaller effect. It's still, you can still see it getting cut off up there. Maybe bring that down just a hair more. And I want to make the rendering, let's see, blend mode, alpha, additive. Let's make the edge fade go up higher. There we go. Now it at least doesn't look like it's a harsh cutoff. So that's kind of neat, right? That's like some interesting blue fire. So I'm going to save this. We're going to save this as a new fluid sim. I'm going to call this interesting blue fire. And then we can put it in our scene. So I'm going to add a new actor. And what you want to do here is find a component. These are all the components here, by the way. So when you add an empty actor to your scene, there's a button here that says add component. And all an actor is just a container with a transform. Everything else is components. So actor and then component hierarchy. Standard gameplay stuff. Components are basically If you've used Unity in the past or like Godot, components function as your scripts as well. So the way you would want to do it is create a component that's a script. And just like I did on my character I showed in one of the other videos, I have on here, there is a component way down at the bottom that's the animation state controller that actually controls the animations that play on him because it gets the sprite component and changes which animation is playing based on the input. So the animation state controller is a custom component. It does not come with the engine. But yeah, so I will go back to my actor here since I got a little bit sidetracked there. I'm going to move it up like over here somewhere. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a fluid sim component on it. And then I'm going to choose my interesting blue fire that I just created. And now you can see itty bitty blue fire fluid sim right there in the scene. So what I want to do is I'm going to scale it up. And what's great about it is you can scale based on the plane. So I'm just going to scale it up on the XY plane. And move it over this way. And we can put it somewhere. I don't know. Let's have it. You know what? Let's put it up here like it's coming out of this little grate. And give it some interesting little visual there. Now it kind of looks like it's coming out of that grate, right? So I'll switch my scene over to nighttime. Bring the sun down. Bring the moon up. Give it some nice moonlit visuals. Move this over to like the side or something. There we go. Yeah, that looks nice. Okay. And I'm going to save my scene. I'm going to rename this actor to Blue Flame. I'm going to hit play. And you can see the simulation starts as soon as you hit play. And it looks real nice up there. Coming out of that smokestack. Coming out of that little sewage grate. That's it. You got fluid sims. Like smoky textures and stuff. Now you can also billboard these. Because why wouldn't you? So let's turn billboard on. We're going to change face camera. And now it's always going to face the camera. So if I go this way, you can see it rotates. Which, you know, if you, depending on how it's set up, it may not look the nicest. So actually, billboarding is probably not what we want for that. So I'm going to disable billboarding, but that's okay. Because it looks pretty good. Just like this. Yeah. Looks pretty good just like that. Now, another cool thing you can do, like I talked about earlier, this is only scaled up on the XY plane. So the pixels, if I pixelate it, should actually not be warped. So if I pixelate it like this, well, they're still a little warped actually. They look pretty warped, but I'm going to bring the pixelation size down. Oh, you know what? That's because we turned the resolution down on the we turned the resolution down on the actual fluid sim itself. So it's a pretty low res fluid sim, but you know what? Bringing the pixelation filter down all the way doesn't look too terrible. It's still a little bit warped. So you do have a pixel mix match there, which is very noticeable. Some people are super sensitive to that. So I'm not going to leave it like that, but it is an option there. Another thing we could do is, like I mentioned in one of the earlier videos, I'm going to turn pixelation off. And we're going to bring the fluid sim back out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my scene. I'm going to go to my environment component. I'm going to enable the pixelation filter this way. That way everything has uniform pixelation to it. And I'm going to bring the pixel size up just a little bit so everything's just a little bit more pixeled. Now if I hit play and bring this over here, all right, so the pixelation filter is super extreme, even at like a pixel size of 6. So this may not be the effect you want, but on the plus side, it is pixelated over here, and it blends in with the scene nicely. Now, one more thing we could do. I'm going to turn the pixelation filter back off because it doesn't look great as it is, but I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to add a light. I'm going to add an empty point light. Let's see, where did that go? Did that go in my scene? It went under my environment. Okay. Got to be careful sometimes. When an actor is selected and you right click and add an actor to it, it's going to add that actor underneath whatever your selection is. So if you hit escape, you can deselect. That was on purpose, but it is kind of, kind of bothering me sometimes. So just something to keep an eye on. I'm undecided whether or not I want to fix that, but what I will do, I'm going to make the intensity like 0.4. I'm also going to bring the range down on this to like 1. I can visualize the light here. If I turn these debug gizmos on up here, I'm going to make this actually like 2. And I'll bring the intensity back up to 1 because I think that's fine. And it's kind of a blue color, so I'm going to make this sort of blue. I'll bring the intensity up a little bit. I need a fall off. That's what I need is a fall off radius too. So I have a range, but I should have a fall off setting as well for lighting. I think that's something I'll work on next, actually. That shouldn't be too difficult to implement. That should be a quick fix. So yeah, having a fall off range would be nice. But now I'll bring the intensity of that down just a little bit again. Since I turned up the intensity on the actual color, I can bring the intensity down on the actual light source. And now if I hit play, yeah, there's a nice little glow there that goes with the fluid sim. So, I called it a flame, but it's kind of looking more like steam or smoke with it coming out of that grate. But, you can do whatever you want with these fluid sims. They're really interesting. Like I said, this one back here, this mist, I'm going to disable that pixelation filter on it because it does not look good with how stretched those pixels are, but it does look fine like this. Save that, and there we go. Now that mist is back, and it is just, like I said, it does render on a plane, so you just kind of walk right through it, but that's okay. Something I can show you, as I talked about earlier, there is collision for these. The collision is kind of janky, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Let's see, obstacles, enable obstacles, and now you'll see it's colliding with this collider over here. Which that is intentional, so you do have to just kind of be careful about where you're placing your fluid sims at. But what I wanted to show you was if you just kind of walk through. Oh, that's interesting. So oh, you know what? Is that fluid sim? Is that, let's see, how big is that? I think it's the size of the actor that is causing that. Oh, it's not. Okay, that's weird. Well, that's a new bug. So that's something I'll have to look into too. Was the distance by which it was affected by the character. You can see like the character like just walks through it, but even like at a distance, he's still like hitting the smoke. So I don't know. Interesting. But yeah, so that's about it. That's the fluid sim system. In the next video, I will. I don't know, actually, because I could show you the animation system and the tile mapping system, but if you've ever used a game engine that has an animation, like a flipbook animation system or a tile mapping system, then it's basically the same thing. So I'll have to think about what my next video will be on this. But for now, that's about it. There's certainly more I can show and I'm gonna have more videos, of course, in the future. So stay tuned for those. But thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.